This is the brand new 2022 Honda Navi. And for $1,800 MSRP, I mean, how can you go wrong? $1,800. I think it was actually MSRP is like 1803 or 1807, something ridiculous like that. But $1,800, that's slightly larger than the average person's mortgage. So all you have to do to afford one of these, just skip one mortgage payment, or you can save up $5.20 for the next 365 days, and then you have enough money to buy your very first motorcycle. It's amazing. So the Navi first debuted in America in 2022, but it first came out in India a couple years ago, and they ran it for a couple years, but apparently it didn't sell very well in India because they said the price market was just too high on it. Now I know you might be thinking, oh, this is an Indian made bike, and that'd be fine. India makes more motorcycles than any other country. India is actually a pretty decent manufacturer of motorcycles. They make some motorcycles for BMW, but it's not made in India. This is actually made in Mexico, which I have no idea what type of quality Mexico makes. But if Honda put their name on it, I'm sure it's not that bad. The Navi sounds like an interesting word, but in India, Navi means kind to people. And I mean, it's not really what I'm looking for in a motorcycle, but I can understand why they call it that, because this is a motorcycle that pretty much anyone can hop on and ride. And let's just cut to the chase. To be honest, it's not even a motorcycle. When we took the body off of this thing, we realized that all this is open and this is all just nothing. And what we have here is something that looks like a motorcycle, but in reality is actually a scooter. Let me show you more. So for starters, it's a twist and go, which just like scooters are, there's no clutch, there's no lever. You can't stall it out or anything like that. All you do is you just twist and go. So pretty much any degenerate that has no idea how to ride a motorcycle and their mom could just hop on this thing and just twist and go and just ride on into the sunset and have a lot of fun. So the first interesting thing about this bike is this ginormous storage space, and you can fit like almost a helmet in there. It's very large. And what's crazy about it is this is significantly larger than the fuel tank, which is only a 0.9 gallon fuel tank. But it doesn't really need any bigger because this thing gets over 110 miles to the gallon. I know another unique thing about this bike, it's carbureted. It's not fuel injected. I just assumed by now in 2022 it'd be cheaper just to put fuel injection on anything. You know, considering that Honda even has fuel injection on some of their generators, but I guess not. Good old carburation. Now, something that I really love about this bike is not only does it have electric start, which is kind of unusual because normally when you turn the key, lights come on. Nothing comes on. You got to turn the key, make sure your kickstand is up, you got to pull on the brake. This is all scooter stuff, which is unusual to me, and then you can start it up. But no lights ever came on in the dash, and it took me a while to figure out how to start this thing. But what's cool about it is you have electric start and you got kickstart back here. I think you have to stand up. You have to stand up and the brake in. There we go. Now, if you're wondering what this thing is, this goofy looking lever where the clutch should be, this is actually an e-brake because it's a CVT transmission. So you'd pull that and there we go. Lock it in like that, and that's so the bike's not going to roll down a hill. And another very unusual thing about this bike is it not only has drum brakes on the rear, it's got drums on the front, which I have not seen since like the 60s. And they're pretty awful. They barely stop the bike. I mean, you got to crank on it. But that's the price you pay when it's only $1,800. And you can't go that fast anyway, so it's maybe a good lesson for you. You also see these things where they're connected. So when you grab the rear brake, it grabs a little bit of front. When you grab the front brake, it grabs a little bit of rear. It's actually kind of a cool, it's a pretty smart system. Now, something else I thought was kind of unusual, or at least unique about this motorcycle, was it's clearly an entry-level bike, but it's not the smallest bike out there. I mean, it has a 30.5-inch seat height, which there's much other smaller bikes out there. And I actually feel pretty good sitting on this bike, and I feel pretty good riding it. I've ridden it for a couple hours. Don't tell any of my friends, but I actually really enjoyed it. And this actually has a higher seat height than the Honda Grom. The Honda Grom's a little bit lower, which kind of makes me think that it wasn't made for small people. It's kind of made for everyone to ride. And it's an entry-level bike, and it's a very efficient bike in price and economy. And it's a really good gateway bike. You start riding this thing, you ride it for a couple of years, you realize, I want a little bit more. What are you gonna get? You're gonna get maybe a Grom or something or whatever the next thing is, and then you have to learn the clutch. But by then you've already got used to riding, you feel comfortable being all out in the road, being in the open, and you've fallen in love with it, and now you want more. And it makes a lot of sense. It's a really good move for Honda. So the 22 Honda Navi comes in 4 different colors. You have red, you've got grasshopper green, which is what I have right here, you've got nut brown, and then you have the classic Ranger green, which just in case the Army Rangers wanted to use these things in combat missions, Honda wanted to make sure that the door was open. So normally when I'm pointing to the engine, I'm pointing right here. The Honda engine is actually right back here, and this is kind of their CVT transmission fella. It's got a 109cc single-cylinder 4-stroke engine that makes around 7 horsepower, and then goes to a CVT gearbox, and then goes directly in a final drive right to the wheels. There's no chain or belt involved. And then it has a whopping, almost excessively large 12-inch front tire and a more normal 10-inch rear tire. And the whole package together, curb weight is just 236 pounds, which is it's a fairly light bike. A lot of people have been saying comments about this, saying that it's just a variation of the Grom. It cannot be farther away from the Grom. There's nothing about this bike that is anything close to a Grom. Grom's got a regular gearbox, Grom's got a clutch, Grom's got a 125cc engine. It's actually mounted up here. This is just a completely different thing. This is much closer to a scooter, although I'm not sure what scooter this is, because whatever it is, they don't make it in America as far as I know. I could be wrong. But the thing about this bike is, even though it's a scooter, even though it's carbureted, even though it's got some goofy little things about it, it's still really, really, really fun. So let me show you how much fun it is. Let's go take it on a test drive and show you how it accelerates and how it stops, and let's go for once and for all, let's figure out what the real top speed of this bike actually is. You hear that? Hear that, baby? All right, guys, before we do this test drive, let's do the words of wisdom. Philippians 4:7, and the peace of God which surpasses all comprehension will guard your heart and your mind in Jesus Christ. I'm excited. I like this. Okay, don't tell anybody, but I have a lot of fun riding this. Oh, I need my gloves. Hold up. I can't go anywhere without my gloves. Where are they? There they are. World's greatest motorcycle gloves. So from 0 to about 30, it's fairly peppy. It's not bad. We're gonna see what happens at the higher speeds. But this really is a bike that anyone could just hop on and ride. You know, it's obviously heavier than a bicycle. It's gonna feel a lot more stable than a bicycle, you know, at higher speed, just because the extra weight and the fatter tires and stuff. What up, dog? You know, when I first started riding, the bike I started riding was, and I rode bicycles as a kid, like like all kids do, I think. And I got a moped when I was 14 years old. It was an Italian moped. It was a Gorelli. It was 300 bucks. It's been sitting for a long time. It needed some carburetor work, and then it worked, and me and my buddies, we would ride all over the place. I'd let them all borrow it, and it really was like my first taste of like freedom. Like, all I gotta do is put a buck, less than a buck. I mean, the fuel tank was so incredibly small, but it would last for like years, and it was just so much fun to ride. But it really gave me that independence. And if this, in 10 years and 20 years and 30, if this is the moped that those kids are starting to learn how to ride on when they're 15, I mean, that's awesome. Because this is better than what I had, to be honest with you. And it's got a carburetor. They're going to learn how to work on the thing. They're going to be able to fix it. It's a very simple system. I do like that aspect of it. You have an ignition, and it probably won't go bad. The only thing I can go bad with it is just the carburetor is going to get gunked up, and then they got to learn how to take it apart and clean it. And that's cool. This goes much, much faster than any moped could do. Mopeds were barely, they were struggling, like really, really hard, doing 25 miles an hour. Anything past that, you had to be going down a hill and like cover yourself in like lubrication and really streamline your body. But with this, I bet I can go, all right, here's a hill. Let's see how fast I can get this hill. I'm pulling. I'm still accelerating on the hill. All right, I'm slowing down. I'm like 38. Oh, I'm going a little faster. I'm almost 39. Cresting the hill, hitting 40. Coming down the hill, 45. Almost 49. All right, now we're going back up a hill. I mean, this thing's not bad. And the fact that you can just go drive it for over 100 miles, about 100 miles on the tank is, I think that's cool. This gets people out there. Now, when it comes to the brakes, it's very lacking. I mean, I was full braking. I was pulling as hard as I could on those brakes. Yeah, I don't normally have complaints about motorcycles, but these brakes are so bad. I mean, we all know that drum brakes are just, they don't work very well. They'll last for a long time though, and they'll, I don't know why they did it. I guess they did it because it was cheap, but I don't understand why it's cheaper when nobody makes them anymore. But that's just how it is. But you know, it's one of those things that you just have to learn on. You just got, all right, you just have to know how close you are. You keep more distance from the guy in front of you. I mean, you're not going super fast, so it's not a huge deal. Don't look at it and be like, I'm not gonna buy that bike because Sean said the brakes suck. Well, the brakes do suck, but I can still stop. I've ridden bikes that had no brakes that I would consider to be worse brakes than this. I've ridden some Harley Davidsons that just the guy traded it in, and which means that he was riding it up to that point, and the brakes were so soft, so spongy, that they would stop slower than this, and people were still riding and having fun. Let's go jump, take this thing on the highway and see what kind of speeds we can get. Now I'll do a 0 to 60, but it won't ever get there. I don't think this will get past, to be honest, 55 at top. 55 might be the top, but everything underneath there, 45, man, it does it no problem. It feels very comfortable. This is one of those bikes that the more or less you weigh, the faster it feels, and it's like Craig, he's a little bit heavier than I am. I smoked him all day long on this bike. Top speed was about the same, but the acceleration, I mean, I was pulling on him hard, and just to make sure that it wasn't the bike, we switched bikes and I still beat him. So with that being said, you put someone really small, look at that thing pull, man, it's pulling my arms off. With that being said, you put someone really small on a bike, you know, that weighs 100 pounds. Man, this thing's gonna be a little rocket. This thing's gonna be flying. I bet Craig probably weighs close to the weight of the bike. That's pretty impressive though. Let's put the rear pegs down. I'm gonna cramp on my leg. All right, let's streamline this. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it just exploded? What the heck happened? I ran out of gas, that's what happened. Let's let this guy go in front of me. Alright, so I ran out of gas. Good thing this is carbureted, because I'm able to flip it and do the reserve tank. Let's get back to see how fast we can go. $50, 51. 52. Come on, get lower, Sean. 53. 54. Come on. Get a little tighter. Get a little tighter. 54. 55. That's 55 right there, guys. I am currently doing legal highway speeds for most of the Pennsylvania highways, currently around a 65 mile per hour highway, but that's the top speed. You can go lower than that, and I'm keeping it. I'm cruising at this nice 55. Let's see what happens if I sit up. Me sitting up brought my speed down like 3 miles per hour. All right, guys, that wraps it up. This is the Honda Navi. I think it's actually a pretty cool bike. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to subscribe and check out this next awesome video. Remember, it's not what you're riding, but where are you going?